Welcome. In front of me I have the Apple iPad Pro, this being the 11 inches, and I'll be going over unboxing, quick look at the device, as well as additional accessories for it, like the pen and the Magic Keyboard. Okay, so let's just get straight into this. Flipping this over, you have pull tabs. I do have to appreciate the fact that at least Apple, unlike Samsung, can figure those out to come off in a single piece without, ripping halfway through, and just comes off really nicely and easily. Anyway, opening it up, we have our tablet. So well, let me zoom out a little bit so we can see just a bit more. There we go. So here's the device. Actually, surprisingly, it's very light and also thinner than I believe previous generation of these were. So this it's actually pretty damn nice. Anyway, I'm gonna set it to the side for now and see what we didn't get in the box. Now, unlike Linus, I am not gonna be happy about the fact that they included just a charger and a crappy paperwork. What I am gonna say is that for a device that costs as much as this tablet does, Tim Cook, you should have been putting a charger here along with a blowjob, not just a braided USB-C to C cable. That is not enough. Especially that you're selling a pencil for additional cost outside of the device that you kind of advertise with the pencil. Anyway, throwing that up, can take a look at the tablet. So here it is, a very nice compact size. I do have to say this, it feels really nice in hand, which is kind of odd. I usually wasn't really too stoked about these devices, but this one, something about the changes, even though it's almost exactly the same, as you can see, not much has changed. It's the weight really that changed. It feels much lighter, and the size at 11 inches seems to be basically perfect, with these bezels being a little bit on a bigger side for a tablet. If you specifically compare it to something like Samsung tablets, these seem outdated in comparison. Now let's take a look at the screen, which is going to be Ultra Retina Tandem OLED. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a bunch of mumbo jumbo for a pretty good screen tech. It's an OLED, or double layered OLED, that gives you much higher brightness, basically infinite contrast ratios with whatever would be black on the screen, as the pixels there are basically turned off. Other than that, it's running at 120 Hz refresh rate, supports HDR10, Dolby Vision, and goes up to 1600 nits, which that is a little bit disappointing considering it's a tandem OLED. How the shit do you be using tandem OLED and having 1600 nits only? Like Samsung, with just a normal OLED, manages to have like 3000 nits. You have half of that with tandem. Excuse me, what? Now, I do want to point out, I am getting these informations from gsmarena.com, and they've been pretty reliable in information, but there's no way that this one is correct with tandem OLED, though. Actually, let me just quickly maybe start going through the setup. And did I select Polish by mistake? I hope I didn't. So all this is doing something, I'm not really sure. Okay, I didn't change to Polish. Continue. I'm gonna connect to network. There we go. So continuing on with the display, other than the brightness, we have 11 inches. No surprise here considering it's in the name. 82.3% screen to body ratio. Well, like I mentioned, it's a little bit on the lower end, which nowadays devices usually have like 90, even approaching 91%, which makes the devices look much more modern and just nicer. with these bezels being significantly smaller than what we have right here. Now continuing, we also have scratch-resistant glass. Let's be honest, no glass is scratch-resistant. Oleophobic coating. Oleophobic meaning that if you have water, which I don't really have right around here, it would kind of just smoothly glide from the display, clump up together, and also kind of resist your fingerprints, which is pretty good. Additionally, MOSH level 4 and anti-reflective coating. What I call this okay, the light box is being like completely almost mitigated in terms of reflection, so I have to give it here. The light box that is right here, it's like it at the highest kind of brightness that it reflects right here, it kind of makes it hard to see the text, but it's still very manageable. If I bring up something like, let's try this. Okay, maybe not the best comparison. This is a matte display, so that would be the least of a concern, but let's see watch. Okay, you can see the watch reflects much more light. It's basically become pure whiteness. So yeah, it does do something. Though in terms of, wait, no, I don't want to set that up. In terms of the actual like mitigation, other lights are still visible in here. And for those, for instance, like this light that you can see here in the reflection, it's not that much of a big difference, I would say. This light isn't bright in general, and it's still reflecting pretty well, so nothing really like substantial happening with that anti-reflective coating. I'm trying to basically talk about this and go to the setup, and obviously failing with my smooth brain right here. So let's just focus. Can I just like, oh, there we go. Set up later in settings. Why do we need to agree? What the hell? Okay, that's weird. I'm gonna actually show this in a second, but holy crap, is this weird. Kind of, I need to look at it from a side, because this seems to be very weird. Huh. Okay, so I can actually see this. So if I don't know if I will be able to show this on camera, but let's just try. Can you see the amount of flex there is to the display? It's like sinking. You can see the finger deforming as a reflection. This is weird as hell, considering when I have this tablet on. Come on. Oh, for God's sakes, flip over. Hello? Can you like... Okay, fine, I'm gonna adjust to you, because why the hell would a device do what I need it to do? So considering it's laying right now on a tablet, by pressing it, I can see definitive like bowing in the display, and that is so weird. Now, it feels like the device is very flimsy for some reason. Could it be the fact that it's super light? Could it be maybe something with the display not being adhered correctly? But it seems like the entire device is bending without much of a problem. No, never mind, it doesn't. I mean, it does bend. I'm not putting enough pressure for this to be deforming any bit, I would say. So that being said, just like gentle taps on here, and the entire screen just kind of you know, bending here is very off-putting. And also just using it, this is like, let's see if I can get it to, you can see it right here actually. Small angle, just let's get the wiggling off. Okay, the freaking wiggle is pissing me off, stop it. Trying to kind of hold it still. I am literally like not pressing this hard enough. Yeah, for this to be happening, this is something is off here. Maybe you're not going to be bothered by this, but I sure as shit am. This is weird. I have never encountered any display doing that. Of course, if I ever did, it must have been Apple. So let's move over from the display to other things. So battery wise, it's actually bigger than I expected, which is what she said, at 8,160 milliamp hours. That can be charged also faster than I would have expected at 40 watts. It's definitely faster than what Samsung offers. Actually, no, I think they do like 45 or something like that at the highest end. But still pretty good for Apple in any way. 40 watts. It's pretty decent. Now, moving on into the internals, we have Apple M5 processor in here, which means that this device is stupidly, and I really mean stupidly fast for literally no reason. And if I remember correctly, let me just quickly check. What did they use? Yeah, so it's the same one. So these processors are basically the same thing that you can find in their laptops. Though these are toned down just a little bit, because putting what you have in a laptop and that requires a little bit more power is just insanity right here. So they're kind of tricking people by giving you the same kind of processor, naming it the M5. It is the same one, but it's cut down. It's not as good as you have in a MacBook. So it's a little bit of a misleading kind of thing right here. Maybe you could have named it something like M5 Lite, considering it's not really the full power of what you have in a laptop. But in any case, it's still a moronically fast processor that you will never need to like push to the full limit on the tablet unless you do some like absolutely heavy gaming here with things like ported games like Assassin's Creed or Resident Evil. Those games might be utilizing this processor to its fullest potential, but literally web browsing doesn't even probably scratch like 10% of it. So in general, it's a stupid processor, and considering it's still insanely stupid, I should ask a question. Why the hell is it still using iPad OS on here instead of giving you the Mac OS treatment? It literally comes with something I'm going to be unboxing, which is this. Has a trackpad and a keyboard, and allows you to basically convert this into a tiny little laptop. Why can't I have Mac OS on here? It would make this device much more versatile than the bullshit Mac OS that is previously present on here. It just is a hindrance at this point. Considering the processor that they're putting in here is the same one that is in the laptop versions of Apple devices, why is it still stuck on iPad software? So that's a bit of a drawdown of these devices. They pretend to be laptops while still giving you the garbage iPad OS experience. It's been improved. I'm gonna admit it, but it's still a far cry from what you would expect from a actual device like a laptop, Mac OS. And my expectation here is, or my suspicion is, that they're forcibly keeping this on just because obviously Macs, this is kind of like in between, I guess, a state of price and what it offers. So that's one thing. So if you want more, obviously you need to spend significantly more money. Or the alternative is that on this kind of platform, the iPad OS, you're stuck into using the beloved App Store, wherever it is. I can't actually find it right now. So considering you're forced to use App Store, if you want to find any kind of application on the browser or stuff like that, you can't install it here. On the macOS, on the other hand side, you can download the DMG files at any point you want. You don't need to do anything extra. Just download it, install it, and you're off to your races. And obviously that skips the App Store, and any kind of purchases also skip Apple coming for their Apple tax for no reason, just because it's using their software. So software, I mean as a iPad OS. Even though the application was created by someone just basically ported for this device or for iPhones or even Androids. So it's all platform, but you know, it's Apple, so they want their 30% cut for literally no input. Something that they can't really get on Mac OS. So anyway, moving on, which I actually didn't finish the specification. So we have 12 gigs of RAM here, and going up to 16 for some reason. And we have 256 gigabytes of storage at the base entry with that 12 gigs of RAM. But you can get it up to a whopping 2 terabytes of storage and 16 gigs of RAM on a tablet. If you're using this as a substitute to your computer, this would be very good. But I just want to warn you, the prices that Apple charges you for this storage here is absolutely insulting. Instead of being cheaper like it should be, because storages went down, it's going to be more than twice as expensive as what you pay normal retail price. And typically, if you look at something like NVMe storage and whatever we have right here, this is a soldered on storage, so you can't really replace it, upgrade it, or anything like that. And additionally, it removes the cost of being like, you know, swap it in and productions of this. They just get the chips and solder them themselves. So it should actually be cheaper than what you can find on the market as an NVMe in reality. And what you can get for what the price typically is, let's just quickly check, just so you know, we have all the numbers. NVMe to TB. So we're looking at a price of about $100. This is just the first one that I found, which is, what is it? Western Digital Black Gen 4 NVMe SN770. It's about $100 US. Now let's see how much it costs us to get upgraded from the lowest end to the highest one. Apple.com. Can you not translate it to Polish, please? Thank you. Learn more, and we're looking at, by now, 11 inches. Let's make it silver just so we have the price correctly. So the 256 gig storage will run you roughly, I love how it says, from $999. Awesome. Now, 2 terabytes will literally run you double that. Now, mind it, there is a little bit of improvement. The cores on there, also kind of bullshit design right here, increase. So this one, which is the lowest end right here with the lowest amount of storage, has M5 chip that has 9-core CPU and 10-core GPU. Now, why the 2 terabytes and also 1 terabyte have more cores without ever like being a different model, considering it will perform differently, is beyond me. It's only Apple and Tim Cook reasoning right here of why they are trying to just straight up obfuscate this information. Is just kind of beyond me. These devices, considering they will perform completely differently, this should be a different model. The 256 and half a terabyte should be considered a different model than the 1 terabyte and 2. And in any case, this will be a little bit more difficult to kind of get the price, how much they want per storage right here, considering with the storage you also increase RAM and you also increase the core count. So from 512 to 1 terabyte, you do get a jump. But what we can look at is that from 256 to 512, we have nearly $200 price tag jump. $200 for a 256 gigs of storage. Are you effing kidding me right here? I can literally get for half of that 2 effing terabytes. 10 times more storage than what you dumb fucks are offering right here. This is literally insulting prices. And we're just talking about 256 gigabyte storage increase. That is equivalent to the price of a 2 terabytes. Now, with that in mind, we get 2 terabytes for whopping $1,999 US. For additional core, 2 terabytes and additional 4 gigabytes of RAM. This is robbery. For that price, just to put that out there, $2,000, you can get either ZenBook or even MacBooks. But if we want to have upgradability for a basically not extorted amount of money, let's go with something like the Asus Asus gaming devices, the gaming laptops. So how are they called? Oh, right. We have the Flow Z13, or we have also the what was the other name? Zephyrus G14. So these both will be a little bit bigger, but both of them will come roughly close enough in price and offer you a better versatility, as it's going to be an actual computer. So what we get right here is, in my opinion, just straight up insult to how Tim Cook looks at money. Apparently your time is worth absolutely F all to him. So you know, you needing to make $2,000 effing dollars to buy this piece of shit. To him, I mean, it is pocket change to this dude. After all, you know, just buy your mom an iPhone, and that should solve everything. It is just beyond me. I'm literally just speechless. So anyway, let's continue on with maybe something that is a bit more positive. The cameras. We have a 12 megapixel sensor right here that will allow you to record videos up to 4K at 60 frames. That's pretty good. And also 1080p up to 120 or 240 slow motion. And we have 4K ProRes right here, which is basically their, like, not FLAC, what's the name? RAW, log. There we go. Log format, but Apple version of it. So that's pretty good. And we also have a 12 megapixel selfie. Right, what the hell is it? Oh, it's under my finger. So right here. Oh, I'm talking about the camera. Right now on. So that's another 12 megapixel, and this one does also 1080p at 60 frames. So no 4K at all. So there we go. That's the cameras. Now another thing that you can notice right here at the back is LiDAR. So we do have LiDAR in here. If you want, you can just use this device to scan 3D objects and, you know, have all that. I know it's a kind of a niche kind of thing, but it's here if you need it, ever. And I think that about sums up the tablet itself. It's a very overpriced device, I would say, for what it offers, especially if you want more storage. It's honestly just it's extortion, to say it lightly. And if you actually need more storage, you won't need more RAM. Let's put that out there. 12 gigs for a device like this will be good. After all, Apple is the same company that used to give you, what was it, 4 gigabytes of RAM for like stupidly long time, and telling you that it, or on their laptops, 8 gigs of RAM and telling you it performs like 16. Okay, imagine how 16 would actually perform if you included that, which now they do. So yeah, the amount of storage you get right here, RAM storage, is excessive for a tablet. So 12 will be sufficient enough, and 256 gigabytes of storage might be on a low end for whatever kind of computer-like tasks you need. But if you're using this as a computer, what you're probably going to get used to is these little things. Well, can you see what it has? It has an SD card reader, USB-A port, HDMI, and Type-C port. Ooh, wow. Yeah, it has a Type-C, which you can just, plug it into that Type-C right here. And then you can get something like this at 512 gigabytes of storage instead of the 64 for literally, what, $50? Instead of the, I don't know, 300 or 400 that Apple would want for you to have, pay them. And yeah, just use it that way. It will work just fine. Might not be as fast, but holy shit, you should never be paying this extortionate amount of money for storage. Storage is much cheaper, and Apple seems to, I don't know, maybe source it from space. And they need to pay for, all the fees of importing it from there and all that shit, because I see no other way in hell why you should ever be paying $200 for 256 gigabytes of storage. Okay, now with that crap out of the way, let's move over to the keyboard. Hello, can you focus? Hello, camera, thank you. So, keyboard wise, just gonna go quickly. Let's throw that to the ground, and here it is. Oh, not here. I still need to, I guess, pop it out of here. There we go. Let's also get rid of this cardboard. Here we go. Smack that in here and yeet that to the ground. So here it is. And I do want to say, feels very premium. Nice product. Keyboard itself feels like a typical Apple keyboard. Decent travel speed considering the actual size of this device, or more like thickness. It's not a thick device. So goddamn, it's robust as hell. Like, there is barely any flex. I mean, I guess you would expect considering it's made out of aluminum. So this is aluminum, and this feels solid. We have also cover which locks in place. You can see it does have specific steps, and it also has this portion bends. So let's grab our actual tablet. We have pogo pins right here and here that we just can go whoop, no, almost, there we go, and it automatically connects to it, and you're good to go. Closing wise, it does magnetically shut, but it isn't strong enough to kind of like pick it up when it's closed, so it will open instead, as you can see. Which, honestly, that it's, I would say, also a good design considering you don't need to, like, wedge your finger then try to pry it open. It just does it automatically. One thing, another that I want to point out in terms of color matching, because they're both made out of aluminum, these match perfectly. It's just kind of like a nice sandwich of aluminum right here that matches in color. It feels very premium. The only thing that I don't know is why didn't they put the Apple logo at the front or right here, or would be the back of the tablet itself. We have hinge. We have also Type-C port right here, so you can charge it through here or possibly add additional accessories. And you still have the, there we go, this free if you want to use that for something else as well. Come on, come on. Okay, never mind, it's not opening. All right, because I'm holding it upside down. Flip it over. Okay, I guess it's not opening now. There we go. So maybe not always perfectly, but so. Additionally, you have trackpad. Oh yeah, let's get the big cursor. Now cursor honestly feels pretty good. One thing that I do like to always mention here in terms like this, most tablets that come with this kind of folio case with trackpad, the mouse smoothing that is on there is usually horrendous. This has mouse smoothing. Yeah, that definitely has mouse smoothing, but it's done in a way that doesn't completely screw me up. It's not like perfect, but it's way more pleasant to use than some other folio cases, for instance, for like Samsung, which the trackpad action there is absolutely whack. I also want to point out, this is a brand new case, which I haven't done anything with, and what the hell is this? Wait, let me just kind of like flip it over. Can you, oh, there we go, you can see these lines right here. There's some dirt on here. Come on, for the price of this, I shouldn't have any kind of blemishes right here. Now, will this rub off? Come on. Okay, it does come off, though I do need to maybe get some moisture, make it easier to rub it off. But still, just wanted to point out there is something off right here. And while we're talking about something off, since this year, I've noticed that Apple products had some quality controls problems. So the new iPhones that came out, two of the four that we had right here had some kind of damages on them, very minuscule, where the frame was scratched, like somewhere, for instance, right here at the between like the screen and the bezel. There was some like chipping in paint or whatever. So both of them had this kind of like weird scratches on the body somewhere. So yeah, there are some quality controls from the looks of it. So when you buy your device, just make sure that everything is fine. It's not scratched. Usually if you buy it from Amazon, you have time to return it and get your money back if something is, well, not up to your liking. Because let's be honest, when you're paying at least $1,000 for just a tablet and then God knows how much for the folio case, I think you deserve to have a device that is absolutely perfect. There is no exceptions for any tiniest blemishes whatsoever. And if you have any, return that crap and get a one that isn't damaged. Now, one last thing that I wanted to take a look at is this thing. So it's the Apple Pencil Pro. Now, this one is it just going to be Pro? It is. So here we have the models that it supports. So iPad. Okay, it doesn't support this device. Great. Unless it does with an update. You know, I'm going to try. But it says clearly here, it works with iPad Pro, M4, M3, M2, although the M3 and 2 are iPad Airs, and then iPad Mini A17 Pro. This is none of those. So let's see what we get, if it's even going to work. Quick unboxing. Boom, done. We also have paperwork in here. We need to first probably attach it, right? Oh, hey, hello. Oh. Welcome, continue, yep. Here, let me just kind of bend this a little bit more, or lay it down. Continue, not now. Oh. There is some haptic feedback. Interesting. But as you can see, it works just fine. So even though on the box it stated that it doesn't support it, it totally does. So there we go. It's also working just fine here in terms of UI. It tells me the pencil, how much battery it has. So works fully. Not sure why it's not listed in here in this case. Okay. Anyway, that about sums it up. And just to kind of give you the overview right here, price-wise, this device is ridiculously overpriced for what it offers. What it offers in terms of specifications, it's absolute overkill that you don't really need. The storage and RAM that they offer is just insanely expensive. Other than that, if I don't consider the price, maybe I'm just literally pissing money. Obviously, it's a fairly good device. It's more than I would ever need for a tablet, more RAM than I would need on an Apple device, more power than I would need on an Apple device. But hey, if I want to have an overkill device and I have money for it, it's obviously gonna do just that, be an absolute overkill. It has decent battery life and size. To want to give props to that one, with also decent charging speed. The display right here is also pretty good, though brightness wise at 1600 nits, a little bit on the lower end, specifically for a tandem OLED. But we also have support for HDR and Dolby Vision and 120 Hz refresh rate, so great. And build quality feels nicer in hand, but again, we have this weird like screen flex to it, where when you're tapping on the display, you can see it just kind of wobble and everything just deforms, just because I guess the glass itself is so thin, I would presume. I have no clue why it's doing that, other than just guessing. So the display right here with the wobble is a downside. And the keyboard, solid, feels very premium, matches the color of the device. Trackpad feels solid. Keyboard has an Apple-like travel distance and is very tactile with decent amount of force behind it, and an actual feelable tactile click behind it. And the pen itself, even though not supposedly rated for this device based on the Apple itself, it works just fine. Has all the support for it, the haptic when you squeeze it, and you can see it works just fine. No problem here. So there we go. That sums it all up. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.